Today I'm taking apart the front axle on my 87 Suzuki Samurai. And anytime when you hit anything with the hammer, always make sure you're wearing your safety glasses. Okay, let's get started. I'll start out by removing the brake caliper mounting bracket. Which are right here. They're 17 millimeter. Now you can take the caliper off. Next you get your 10 millimeter and take off this this little cap from the locking hub. Next, 12 millimeter socket. Use your 12 millimeter to take off this the rest of the locking hub. There's a little lock ring right here. A snap ring. This is actually not the correct type of snap ring. Like, it's not a factory one, but I guess it'll work. It was already in there. So take this part off. I don't understand. This is real. This is axle bearing grease. Why is it liquid? Take a screwdriver and bend this locking tab. And here's a 2-inch socket. Doesn't exactly fit tight, but it works. Take off one. Take off one of the locking nuts, and then take out the little lock washer and take out the next one. And then there's always this washer in here. I don't even know what it's called. Now you can remove the hub. See, these 4 bolts remove like the little spindle. That's what you're taking off, the spindle. You got these 4 bolts. You take out these 4 14 millimeter bolts. Get all that. It has like water and stuff in it. At this point, I would just take the cotter pin out. Well, take the tie rod in loose right now. Yeah, So mine's a 19 mil. I don't know if they all are, but this one is. I mean, technically you could use one of these forks to split it, but I don't think I want to do that because I don't want to bust the ball joint, like the boot. Most likely you'll bust the boot if you use one of those, almost guaranteed. And if you hit it with the hammer, on top, you'll bend the threads. If you hit it right here, a lot of times they'll fall out, but then you'll beat your spindle up too much. I'm tapping it. I'm not going to hit it hard like this. I was just thinking maybe I'll get lucky. It would fall out. It did. I was not hitting it very hard at all. I didn't even dent it. I didn't even. But I'm not trying to advise people to do it that way because you probably have to beat the hell out of it. The next step would be to take off this little. Man, I wish I knew all the names, but it's like the seal. It's like the seal that seals around this little ball. I don't like that. Where would you buy a screw like that? Nowhere. Never find them. Never find them. Make sure you don't lose them, because that's an oddball looking screw. Now it's time to take off the Kingpin. You got 4 12mm bolts in the top, and then 4 more on the bottom. Now you can take out the bottom ones. Oh yeah, you're supposed to keep this all in the same spot. So, take it off like this. I'm definitely going to wear gloves for the next one. Let me go get all this stuff off my hands real quick. Okay, so the parts you have right here that you can change, you have a seal and 2 bearings. So you have the 2 bearing races right here. On this part, the seals just peeled off. The metal halves come apart and just peeled the seals off. The train kind of messed up my audio. When hitting anything with a hammer, remember to always use your safety glasses. Get this sealed out with my seal puller. See, this is part of the reason, one of the main reasons that I decided to go ahead and take this actual part at this point, because the kingpins are loose, one of them. So this one comes out the same way, except for it has this extra arm on it. So this Samurai has this aftermarket. It's kind of like a high steer kit, or partial high steer. I don't know what you actually consider it. Before you get started, you should drain the diff. You have well, on mine, it's a 19mm plug at the bottom. Crack it loose, take it out, and let it drain. Ew. Okay, it's never a bad idea to mark stuff like this. Now the drive shaft is off. You can take off these 8 bolts. They're 12mm, and after that, the 3rd member comes out. Okay, after you take the last bolt out, now the third member can come out. And there. And on the spindle there's a bushing right here. And if they're loose, you should replace it. Well, this one, that seems pretty loose to me. And that's probably because the Kingpin was loose, the bearing was bad. So, on top of that, that seems like a lot of slack. But I'm replacing this with chromoly. I'm gonna get some long field chromoly 26 spine axles. So I mean, I guess these are just going to junk. Let's take the punch, put it right up against the edge of that. Okay, so it's not, just drive it out. If you have trouble, you can probably squish it a different way because it is split. But whatever. Now it's time to move on to everybody's favorite, how to disassemble the third member. Before I take this apart, I'm going to put this dial indicator on here just to get an idea of where the gears are at right now. So just put it on as flat as possible. It's about as flat as I could get it. And let's see what she reads. About 10 or 11 thousandths. To disassemble the third member, the first thing you do is take off these two locking tabs that I thought were 10 millimeter for some reason. I guess they're 12 millimeter. Okay, after getting the little locking tabs off, you take off the caps. It's always easier to use an impact 17 millimeter. That way you don't have to hold it. Make sure these caps stay on the same side. You could mark them. I just make sure I keep up with them. Now you can take the differential carrier out. And that's what I was saying. I usually just put them back on to keep up with them instead of marking them. Right now I'm taking out the pinion nut. These are usually really tight, and you have to have a way to bolt the yoke to something and to clamp it in a vise, or you got to have something to hold it because these are really tight. This is just a pulley off an old 350 that I drilled holes in to hold it. Just be prepared that this thing is going to be super tight. Like always, just like putting them on. You can put the nut back on it. Give it a good whack. Of course, I did distort the nut, but you use a new one all the time anyway. You careful not to hit that too hard. Okay, there's the pinion, the yoke. And this should just drop out. Yeah, yeah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the seal out so that way I can see the bearing more. Maybe I can try to heat it or something. Get the seal out like that. Just pry it out. Wow, looks like that's going to do the trick. I'm going to be putting new bearings in this, so I'm going to go ahead and knock out the races. And how you do that, all you need is a punch and a hammer. Just catch the little lip right there on the inside. Flip it over and do the same thing. And it's out. Next, you can take the lid off the differential carrier. I like to use a little wrench and a hammer because it's really hard to hold. Just take these 8 bolts out. You take the lid off. Take the spider gear out. It should have, be careful, make sure you keep up with this. It has a little shim right there. I can flip it over. Get a 14mm socket. At this point, the cross pins pull out. Take the little center piece out. Take the spider gears out. I'm going to take that gear out. I'm going to leave it here just to make sure it goes back in the same. Well, I'm not even using these side gears. I got to use 26 spine side gears. Did a good job of greasing them. Well, the bearings have plenty of grease on them, and I'm probably going to use the same bearings, the same wheel bearings. And you got to use a press to take this on and off. and sometimes you got to use a press to get these off as well. Okay, so for today I think I got pretty far. This held me up. This was actually stuck pretty good. Look at this big pile of mess. Don't worry, I know how it all goes back together. I would suggest, if you've never done one of these before, to organize your parts and stuff like that. But I mean, I've done a few of these already, so I'm not really that worried about that. And what else? Some of this stuff like that I didn't cover, I know I probably skipped over some stuff, I don't know. I'll try to maybe leave some comments, and there'll be like a part 2 to this where I'm kind of inspecting parts and stuff, because a lot of this stuff, before you throw it back together, you kind of need to inspect it. You know, you need to make sure nothing's broke, cracked, you know, just stuff like that. You know, I don't even know what to talk about since everything's in front of me. But as we go through each part, like reassembling this, I'll go more in depth about it. But that's going to be the first thing I'm going to put together in my next video. No, hold on, no. I'm just going to probably inspect and talk about all the different parts that need to be replaced, like the certain wearing parts. And that's about it for today.